Hello and welcome back to another Algebra 1 video. In this video, we're going to focus on reviewing how to solve one-step equations. Okay, here is the first one we're going to do together. We're going to solve the equation 2 equals h divided by 3. So a lot of times in algebra, we see equations written or division equations written as if they are fractions. So we're going to go ahead and rewrite that so that it's h directly over 3 like this. Oh, there it goes. 2 equals h over 3. This just makes it easier for me visually to see that h is directly over the 3. But if you don't need to do that, you don't have to. That's not a required part of solving the equation. So every equation gets divided up into two sides, and those sides get divided up right under the equal sign. So I'm going to go ahead and put a line right under the equal sign so I can see where the two sides of the equation are. Now, my objective to solve for the equation is to get h completely by itself, which means I need to move this 3 that it's being divided by to the other side of the equation, away from the h, so I know what h is equal to. The only way to move it across that line that divides the equation is to do the opposite to both sides. So the opposite of dividing something by 3 is multiplying it by 3. So that's what I'm going to do to both sides of this equation. Now, what happens on the right side of the equation where the variable is anytime you have a number times a number and then divided by the same number, you're right back to where you started. So this is actually going to get canceled out, and you're going to have just h remaining over here. Now, on the other side, the left side, we're going to do 3 times 2, which is 6. So that means that 6 is equal to h. Now, if you want to test and see if your solution is correct, what you could do is you could take the answer that you got and substitute it in for the h in the original equation to see if both sides are equal to each other. So I'm going to rewrite that again. 2 equals h divided by 3, but this time I'm going to substitute 6 in for h because that's what we think h is equal to. Now, 6 divided by 3 is in fact 2. So since both sides of the equation are equal, I know that h does in fact equal 6. Okay, here's our next one. We're going to solve the equation for s, and the equation is 18.5 equals s plus 15.9. So again, there are two sides to this equation, which I'm going to draw a line under the equal sign to show where those two sides are. My objective, again, is to get s by itself, so I know what it's equal to, which means I need to move the 15.9 across the line to the other side of the equation. Anytime I'm going to move something across the line, I have to do the opposite to both sides. So the opposite of adding 15.9 is to subtract 15.9 from both sides. Now, what happens is this becomes 0. So a positive 15.9, and then I subtract a 15.9, that's going to equal 0, leaving me with just s over here. And now I need to calculate 18.5 minus 15.9 to find out what that's equal to. I'm going to come over here and make it a little bit bigger and line up my decimals so I can make sure that I get that accurately. 15.9, subtract that. I can't take a 9 away from 5, so I have to come over here and make this 7, put a 1 in front of the 5 to make it 15. Now that becomes 6. My decimal goes here. 7 minus 5 is 2, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So that means my final answer is 2.6 equals s. Now, again, if you want to test out your solution, you could go back to the original equation, substitute in 2.6 for s, and then calculate to see if both sides are equal to each other. Okay, here's our next example. We're going to solve this equation, which is 8m equals 88 for the variable m. Okay, so again, there are two sides to the equation, so I'm going to draw a line right under the equal sign so I know where those two sides are. And my objective again is to get m completely by itself. But right now, m is being multiplied by 8. It doesn't look like it, but anytime you have a number directly next to a variable with nothing in between, that means multiply. So the opposite of multiplying something by 8 is to divide it by 8. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8. Now what happens here is on the left side with the variable, 8 divided by 8 is 1, and 1 times m is just m. So we're going to just cancel those out, leaving us with just m over here. And then 88 divided by 8 would be 11. So we think that m equals 11. Now, if I wanted to check that, what I could do is go back to the original equation, substitute in 11 for m, then do the calculations to see if both sides are equal to each other. If they are, then that is indeed the solution. Okay, here is our next one. We're going to solve the equation -68 equals p minus 12, and we're going to solve for p. So again, there are two sides to this equation right under the equal sign. So I'm going to put that there. Now I need to get p completely by itself. So that means I need to move this minus 12 or this 12 to the other side by crossing the line. Anytime I have to move something across the line, I do that by doing the opposite to both sides. So the opposite of subtracting 12 is to add 12 to both sides. What happens here is that gets canceled out because negative 12 plus 12 would be 0. So p is over here by itself now. Now I just need to calculate what negative 68 plus 12 would be. So if you go back to your integers rules of adding integers, you end up with negative 56. So p equals negative 56. And again, if you want to test your solution, you could substitute in negative 56 for p into the original equation, calculate the right side, and see if it matches the left side. If it does, then that is your solution. Okay, here is our next one. We're going to do 10d equals negative 480 and solve it for d. So again, we have two sides to the equation, so I'm going to go ahead and draw a line under where those two sides are. Right now, d is being multiplied by 10. So to move the d away from, or the 10 away from the d, I have to do the opposite, which is dividing both sides by 10. So I'm going to divide this by 10 and this by 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1, and 1 times d is just d. So we're going to cancel those out and leave us with just d over here. Now I just have to calculate negative 480 divided by 10. And when I do that, I should end up with negative 48 as my answer. So that means d equals negative 48. And again, you can always take your solution, substitute it in for the variable into the original equation, do the calculations, and see if both sides are equal to each other. If that's the case, then you have a correct solution. All right, you guys, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you in another video soon.